Hello, it's Carmen.
And Curtis.
From Magical Menagerie.
Yeah.
We have had many people messaging us lately concerning the deity readings. A lot of people wanted to know what their deity was, and we obliged, and we still have a lot more to get to. Thank you for your patience. But a lot of you want to know how to connect with this patron or matron deity or deities.
Yep.
And that's what we're here to talk to you about today. The first thing that I have written here is that, well, there's basically many ways to connect with them. Since the beginning of time, there have been temples for deities, or if you don't believe in using idols, sometimes there's different ways to mentally picture their essence there. But usually you have statues, symbols, artwork, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And they will bring the presence of the god into your house. We have statues of Egyptian gods, Hindu gods, Norse gods all over the house. And they bring a really great presence of that god to your house.
It's important that if you're trying to commune with a god that you make it your priority. So if you're trying to seek spiritual growth from a certain entity and a certain deity, then you need to make sure that, you know, it's something that you value. And symbolism like that, like if you're Christian, having crosses in your house, Bibles out, you know, things like that, it reminds you of the presence of that entity. And it calls them there because the more you think about them, the more they're in your subliminal mind, the more they're going to be present in your life. So that's why those are important. And that's why they've been used. And when they talk about not worshiping idols, it's a point where you make the symbolism more important than the deity itself. So it's important to know that the symbolism is to bring the deity to your mind and that the deity is the overall importance and that you're doing it to commune with that spirit.
One main thing for you that you really need to focus on is making a sacred space. This is a space without interruption. This is usually outside for a lot of people, but it can be inside. A room, basically, that has a lot of idols or incense or anything that you feel has a religious bearing to you, and no interruptions. Because if you're doing meditations to try and connect with the deity, you don't want the phone ringing from your best friend. You don't want the dog coming in and licking your face mid-meditation. We've had that happen so many times. You want it to be your sanctuary to commune with those people that you're supposed to commune with. Another way that you can draw the presence of the god is with offerings and calls. Offerings are just platters of... There's the dog, I told you about it. Basically, offerings can be anything, but certain gods like different offerings. If it's a god of the harvest, wheat products, things like bread are usually great offerings. If it's a god of the dead, pomegranates and apples are usually what you offer.
Apples like the heart. The human heart.
Pomegranates and apples are...
Because you don't want to use a raw heart.
The fruit of the dead.
You want to use a raw heart, and then, hey...
Well, it goes back to the Persephone and Demeter thing.
Yeah, well, that's the pomegranate, yeah.
Well,
and the apple, too.
Apples are very similar.
Okay.
Another thing, I'm looking at ours right now, put out an incense that goes with them. Some really like different resins. Frankincense, myrrh, copal. Some of them like more wood-based things like angelica root. Whatever works. There's plenty of websites where you can research it and find exactly what they like. That's lovely, Ava.
She burped.
Yeah, very loudly. Another thing that you should do is offer out calls, which is basically, it's like a prayer. Sometimes you do it formally by drawing different insignia. One way that most people see these popularly shown is in things like the Necronomicon.
The Necronomicon.
Where you put different sigils out for different gods and bless them in a certain way and call for their assistance and blessing.
Anything you use for that call or anything you use in your room
Never
or your
use it
little
again.
magic room or space, you want to use it just for that purpose so that it's dedicated to that use. And that its energy is localized and solely focused on the purpose that you are trying to achieve communication. Using it for other things kind of is disrespectful because you're dumbing down the use and the importance of these things. That's why you don't see church candles leaving the church to go light your house. They're important for that space and for that moment and for that purpose, and that is what they're for. Anything else? No. So if you're using anything One exception is athame for people who are a Wiccan or pagan. It's used in spell work, athame. And it's said that the more you use your athame in real life, the more energy that it gets from you. And that's true. It's also true when it comes to vessels and things like that. But other than that, don't use a cup that's for offering to drink wine out of for your party on Friday night. Not good advice, because it's not honoring that sacred time that you're trying to have with that deity.
So basically, after your offerings, after your calls, sometimes your calls can be as simple as a prayer. Like, many of us are familiar with Christian prayers, where you go, please God, give me this or that, or bless these people. Mm-hmm. Insert the name of someone. Or you can even send it out to all powers that are listening. I've done that before, and it does work.
Oh, yeah.
Specification seems to add power,
yes.
But if you can't specify, that's fine. Something will come to help you. Yeah. But once you've done that, you receive something called the Shakti, or the vibration of the spirit. And you usually feel that in the form of, like, a small euphoria.
Yeah.
That's basically letting you know that, to some degree, the presence of that God is there. And
to comfort you, yeah. To comfort you and make you feel
or to show
safe.
you that the blessing is on the way.
Yes.
When we have used the Necronomicon, we have only used it for very, very important things, of course. We recommend for all of you, if you're going to use the Necronomicon, make sure you read the instructions and use it only when you're supposed to.
Exactly the way they're laid out.
Sometimes you can feel a buzzing. Sometimes you feel a bit of a lightheadedness. That's why they tell you to walk around and touch things. Because sometimes your astral self will go for quite a walk after one of those experiences.
Quite.
And that's a great thing, because it means that you've connected with this deity. If you do not feel lightheadedness, that's not a thing to worry about. If you don't feel that there's been a difference, hold out faith. Things will change.
You'll
you just
never
have
know.
to trust it.
You might pray, like we did one for, to get a friend out of jail. And, it worked amazingly. They got PR'd out. It was just a big misunderstanding and craziness. And,
it was wonderful.
It was just so great, and we were definitely answered, and
immediately.
I'm like literally
within seconds.
Literally phone call. I'm okay. Oh my God, so great.
Best trip to Hardee's ever.
Yeah, definitely.
So different ways you can communicate with them other than leaving out offerings and calls. Abarankas. A lot of you have asked me what this is. This is a summoning that I discovered on a plane that has been a great help to me. They are almost elven in race. Very beautiful. All of them are very beautiful. Very different, but very beautiful. From all over the world, different planes, wherever. But an Abaranka's specialty is they are like a lobbyist to the gods for you. Basically, for those of you that are like us and are pantheistic and believe all of it is true, then you have hundreds, maybe even thousands of gods to answer to. Some you might not even know of. And that can be kind of difficult and a little bit overwhelming, because you don't want to feel like you're answering to one and not another. And you don't want to make anybody mad.
Especially if you feel like you're going to need a blessing from somebody and you're like, oh, let me not make them angry at me.
And Abaranka does a bunch of great things. Number one, the Abaranka will go to the altar or the meeting place of the god, or find some way to contact the god and show them the ways that you're working in their favor. If it's a god of agriculture, they'll show you how you've contributed to the earth.
Right.
If it's a god like Vesta, they'll show you how you've worked in acts of purity and love for everybody. Another thing they do is they tell you how to please everybody. Mm-hmm. Basically, what things to do in your life to please people without, like, extending more effort than you're able to.
Right.
So
how to balance it all, because it's very difficult, and it's very overwhelming when you're convicted to do something and you're like, how do I find time to exercise 3 hours a day for Thor because or Mars because he feels that I'm too weak to give his blessing.
Or you have conflicts like with Hestia and Dionysus, where one's like, drink a beer, and the other one's like, water, please.
Yeah. So, it's kind of like an Abaranka is a really cool way, and they're around you all the time, giving you insight anyway. And they're there for you, like they're already there. They're like, hey, I'm here, communing. Every time you pray, here goes little Abaranka. And then here comes back little Abaranka, and you're like, whoa, I need to eat more fish. Poseidon. And boom, Abaranka.
They're really helpful. They're like your personal assistant of awesome, and that's why if you set out anything as an offering to the gods, you set out an offering dish for the Abaranka too, because they don't have to do this, but it's something that they love doing. It's been in certain generations of these Abarankas for ages. They're really good at it. They're really good at looking at what you do in life and helping you analyze what you need to do. Personal summonings can sometimes act in the same way, too. I have an Egyptian vampire that does. But mind you, not all summonings can.
No,
most Abarankas can, but not all summonings can. So you have to talk to that summoning yourself. Don't just tell whatever you have bought from anyone or summoned yourself, you're my Abaranka now, you're my go-to, go tell all the gods this, that, and the other. Because that's really rather unfair. But if
they
they're
might
willing
not
to
have the appropriate decorum, experience, and not necessarily that they're not able, but they're going to grow with you, and they're going to grow from other things that are around you and what you learn. So if they don't know or have, it's basically like, don't hire the milkman to be a politician, if that makes sense.
Unless he's a really good politician.
Unless he's a really good politician in disguise and he just feels like being a milkman. So, you don't want to, if it's not their cup of tea, don't make them serve it to you, basically.
There you have it. Another way to get in contact is immortal bindings. Most places offer these. Creepy Hollows does. We do. There's a few other places. Honestly, if you're in this group, you're probably in 13 others. You can get immortal bindings pretty much anywhere. Of course, I stand by ours because I do them. But I know Creepy Hollows has some great ones because I got a Ma'at binding from them, actually, and it is, like, the best ever. There's good ones everywhere. Most of them are pretty good.
Yeah.
If you don't feel good about a certain place, you can ask me, and I'll tell you if they're good or not, but I guarantee you a lot of them are.
In our opinion, just because we feel a certain way doesn't mean that we're the ultimate authority. Just to throw that out there, we do not pretend to be the all-knowing everything. We are trying to grow with you guys and share what we know so that you guys can share back, and we can all grow together in a big, happy, magical community family. That's why we call it Magical Menagerie. Boom, I'm off my soapbox now.
Okay, so most people want to know what an immortal binding is. Basically, it's like a tether to their spiritual energy. If you can imagine everyone's spiritual energy as a cloud, it's kind of like a little right off the cloud onto your cloud. So your clouds are like connecting.
Yeah, like clouds.
So it's not like you have in your ring the goddess Isis.
Right,
no.
and people think that. They're like, I got Isis with me. What you gonna do? What you think you gonna do? But it's not that serious. It's just like, Isis, I feel you here in my finger.
Yeah, it's a tether. It means that your messages are going to get there faster and that you're a little more connected. But
just a little bit more energy that if you can't, if you have problems, if you have difficulties, it's going to help you. Mm-hmm. Kind of like when anyone sends you a vessel with a spirit bound to it, that spirit is not eternally bound to that thing. It's not. It's just kind of like a spirit telephone because they're basically said, stand around this pool of energy, and whenever someone tries to talk to you or use this energy that I've collected here for you to communicate with this person. And we always ask our spirits, do you want to go connect with this person? And they're like, yeah. And so we're like, okay, well, use this little ring to connect with them. Use the energy from this ring, and then...
And after about 30 days, there's a bond there. The thing about immortal bindings is usually there's a bond there, but the ring usually is a really good conduit, so try not to lose your vessel. Because the scene is pretty disrespectful, no matter what's in the vessel or who's attached to the vessel, but immortal bindings, try not to lose it.
Because, like we said, those sacred items that are sacred.
Are sacred.
Sacred. You wouldn't go into the Vatican and take the Pope's hat and poop on it. That's not sacred. Sacred. It's like that important.
I'm sorry about his metaphors.
I mean, they're funny, but they're really serious.
Pope Francis is awesome, by the way.
Awesome.
We'll hotspot him. He's awesome.
Yes, one day.
We like the Pope.
Yeah, he's the greatest. I love him.
He's my favorite Pope. But all the popes that have done right are pretty awesome popes.
Yeah. They all sit for something.
Something.
Fell for nothing.
Let's see. Another thing I would say, other than just regular offerings, put notes with your offerings. We do them like right here.
A little extra prayer.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, if you don't know, this little pyramid shape.
We got it from...
Why? Why would a pyramid be important? Because see how it comes 4 sides together, kind of directs the energy inside there straight up. Now tell me, do you really want to go talk to a god? Pyramid. So I put in a little pyramid box like this.
And we have our notes from last time we did a magical session.
Boom.
And usually what we stick in them, you see these all the time if you get packages from me.
Oh,
these little guys. Whoops, wrong direction.
Energy stones.
Yes.
Boom. A little more energy.
We love our energy stones.
It's like rocket fuel for
everything.
Prayers. And there it goes.
And healing and everything else. We swear by them. And
so great.
You get them free with every purchase.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to buy them by themselves, awesome. Cheap. If you don't, buy something like for $5 and you'll probably get them free.
7 of them.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Some people have gotten like 30. I just grab a handful and shove them in a bag and go, power. You know, but they're really good. You can leave those on offering plates. We do, because they go through a multiple moon cycle of charging with several different herbs, liquids, and everything else. It's a very in-depth process. Yeah. They're not just charged by the moon. That's why they're so strong and make you tingly. Let's see. But yeah, put notes with your offerings. Be like, we would really, really, really like a new car, not because we're being greedy, but we kind of need it to get to school. Or, please help my mom get better. Or, a horse would be nice, but not necessary. Sincerely, Curtis.
And a lot of times, what I do when I pray is I have the firm and strong belief that we need to understand what is important to our spirit, because a lot of times we don't understand. So when I pray or I ask for things, I really ask for my greatest possible happiness. If I'm asking for something, I usually say something like, if it's for me and for my greatest possible happiness, can you please help me and assist me with this and send help and guidance in this area?
Because otherwise, be careful what you wish for. You might get exactly what you want, but not in the way you want it.
Yep. So that's a good disclaimer, and I use it. I mean, I want it to be known, you know. I don't think I know what is best for me necessarily at every point in time and in every situation. So the more they know that I'm serious about my happiness and my spiritual path, the more that they'll be able to assist me and feel like I'm genuine when I'm praying. It's very important.
So some other ways that gods might get in... Well, actually, there's one more. One more way to bring a god, or at least the essence of said god, to your forum would be energy raising. And that's something that a lot of pagans and a lot of religious people don't know about, but it happens everywhere. When you go to a Catholic church, when you go to a mosque, when you go anywhere, there is energy raising. Anywhere that there's music, humming, singing, piano, anything, drumming, that is energy raising. Mm-hmm. So if you want to raise energy to bring the spirit of someone into your magical space, you can use, we have drums, we have a flute over there. You can even sit there and clap your hands.
Or you could
sing.
put on music, you know, to meditate with.
But it's easier to drum up energy if you're doing it yourself.
Yep.
There's other ways of drumming up energy, but the most kosher involve music.
Yes, others would involve things like dancing.
Well, that's kosher.
Yeah, that's kosher, and like if you've seen Indian like rituals or American Indian rituals and things like that.
Drumming and dancing. And
tribal things like that. They don't do it for no reason. Do they look crazy? No. They look like they're doing the right thing because they do it for a reason. So, don't be afraid to hop around and skip around and sing and say weird things because you're making energy, and that's important. Also, what Carmen is trying to allude to is this preconception about orgies drumming up energy.
They do.
They do.
But we don't recommend that every time you need to make a prayer to get that head cold away that you invite all your closest neighbors over there and have a really rollicking good time. Unless y'all really want to.
If you want to do it, you know, do it. Hey.
But it's not the only way.
Yeah, it's not necessary. You know, some people, some pagans, Wiccans, neo-pagans, whoever, are obsessed with the fact that, oh, my religion lets me have as much sex as I want. okay, your religion is for your spirit. Sex does bring energy, okay? But sex shouldn't be the focus of your spiritual practice, because that's a carnal need and desire. And the second that it becomes unholy, the energy doesn't matter anymore. It's feeling a selfish desire, and then your prayers become whisked away to being unimportant, because you're idolizing, like I said before, one of those symbolic things that's supposed to be used for a spiritual and sacred purpose and meant to be sacred. If you're idolizing it, then you're turning it into something that isn't serving that purpose, and then it's literally not serving that purpose, and it's not going to work for you.
Unless you're doing it in the name of someone like Venus or Bacchus or Dionysus.
Yeah.
That's different.
Depends.
I mean, there's a different line for everybody.
Yeah, it's a line, and it's something that you need to research and understand, or ask us, and we'll help you, guide you in the correct direction, so
Get your root of joy.
So that you're not, if anything does happen to you, well, I don't even know how to say this. I don't know. The more sex you have, the more chance you could walk away with something that doesn't go away. And that would be.
We're not talking about the joy of the spirit.
So we're not talking about the joy of the spirit here. We're talking about the STIs and the STDs and the little friends that never go away down there. Yeah. So, and you're happy.
Keep the crabs in the ocean, please.
So, yeah, crabs in the ocean. And to anybody that has STDs, STIs,
we love you.
We love you. But that is definitely a risk you should be aware of if you want to drum up energy through
do it with people
activity.
you trust.
Yep, do it with people you trust.
Or get tested first.
Yeah, and you don't. And for anyone who's newly pagan, there are people who are going to try to influence you. And I've seen a lot of stuff where an older man has coerced a very young girl to have sex with him, saying, you'll be more spiritual, etc., etc. If you lose your virginity. Carmen's had an experience like that. Not that she didn't do anything, but had people say stuff like that. I've had people say stuff like that to me, like, you need to have sex with me because we can reach a new spiritual level together. And I'm just kind of like, that might be true, but I don't have to enter into that, because you can do it in other ways. There are alternatives. So don't feel trapped. There's alternatives.
And the last thing we have on here...
Be safe. Always be safe.
The last thing we have on here is how they get in touch with you. There's many different ways that you can see that a god is trying to talk to you. If you don't get word directly, like from an aberranca or something like that, you can get random urges to eat certain things, drink certain things, jump in the river, whatever. Sometimes it's your summonings, but sometimes it's higher than that. Mm-hmm. Illnesses and purges. Or as my bruja says, the purga. That's basically when you get really sick somehow, but then it leads to a really big change.
Yeah.
For me, I was losing a lot of blood for about 2 weeks. His purge was, and is...
Oh my god. I've
this
had
horrible allergy thing.
The worst allergies for forever, and it's because, hey, it's time to get rid of all that. Until I stop doing crap, I'm going to continue to run forth from my nose.
So, I mean, they're different changes. Of course, if you have something wrong with you medically, don't go, oh, it's probably the gods. Please go see a professional.
The doctor, yeah.
Don't take what we said as, oh, it's just the gods sending me a message, because sometimes it might be, sometimes it might not. But if in our cases they say, oh, it's weird, but it's safe, then... Yeah. Another way is natural signs. Sometimes, like, we've had it before where we had a flower native to Japan that we have not seen anywhere pop up in the middle of our yard. And it, and it was some sort of spider orchid, I believe, and it represented death and a new life and new growth. And it was really strange because at the moment, one of the people who lives in our house, a relative of his died, and at that same point, a friend of ours had just given birth to a child that day. Weird, but awesome. So awesome with the child, but like, it's weird, but it's really neat at the same time. That sometimes things can mean that much and just pop up out of the blue. There's also animal and young child behavior I have on here. Sometimes you'll see babies looking really excited for what appears to be no reason. Hopefully they don't look exactly like that, but sometimes that means that a god or some kind of positive spirit is trying to contact them.
And
Dogs sometimes do the same thing, where they'll run around in circles or something.
get excited.
That can be spirits, or that can also be entities or gods. Repeated signs is something that we've dealt with a lot. As soon as we realized we needed to go to Tucson, Arizona, all the spam mail that I got in my mailbox, like my physical mailbox, was addressed from Tucson.
Literally.
Everyone that sent me a spam email was from Tucson. Every time I looked into a job position, it said International Headquarters, Tucson. And I'm like, really? Where is this coming from? Mm-hmm. It's a sign.
Yep. Also numbers. Like I see numbers and they count down. So when I was younger, I would see 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And as I've grown more spiritually, it was 4, 3, and now it's 2, between 2 and 1s. So hopefully we'll get to 0.
Then we'll go back to 1,000.
Right. Crap.
But anyway, we hope that this has helped you out. To recap, some ways to connect with them are in temples, using objects such as crosses, statues, stones, art pieces. You need to make a sacred place. You draw the god with offerings and calls. You receive what's called a shakti, or vibration. You have your calls heeded by the gods. Sometimes ways you contact them are through personal summonings, abarankas, immortal bindings, offerings, notes with your offerings, songs and energy raising. And some ways that you receive feedback are through urges, purges, natural signs such as flowers, animal and young child behavior, and repeated signs such as numbers, words, and letters. So we hope that answers all of your questions regarding gods and deities, and if you have anything else that you want to ask, please get in touch with me or Curtis.
Yep. Also, we do offer readings about how to get in contact with your patron, and we'll literally tell you exactly what you need to do, much like it's written in this book, How to Get in Contact with These Spirits. We'll tell you exactly what your deity is looking for you to do. And we've had a lot of great success with our readings in that area. You can book one on our page. It's a group in Facebook called Magical Menagerie. Magical spelled with a C and a K. So Magical Menagerie Spirits and Services. And we're on there all the time, posting on there all the time, different readings that I'm doing specials on. Carmen's selling her spirit conjurings. And we always offer those readings. You can check out our website, Magical
and Immortal
Menagerie.
Bindings.
Yes, Immortal Bindings, which is very relevant to this video, which we talked about earlier. Immortal Bindings, we do that. And so you could get an Immortal Binding and do a reading.
And get an Abaranka.
And get an Abaranka. Hey. Or get in touch with your Abaranka.
You might have one already.
You might. Most people do. But it's something, if you're trying to get in contact, they're going to show up like, yeah, let's do it. So, thank you for watching. And get in touch with us. Book a reading. If you have questions, let us know. Post in the comments. Or join our group, and we'll talk about it there. Love and light to all of you. And
peace, love, and joy.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later. Bye.